2024年11月13日，美国国会再次举行了不明飞行物听证会，多名前美国官员和媒体人接连在听证会上爆出猛料。而随着 Trump 再次成为美国总统，在他的第一个任期里曾提到有可能会公布政府所一直隐瞒的 UFO 相关信息，也成为了近日的热门话题。与 Trump 和 Elon Musk 颇为交好的著名媒体人 Tucker Carlson 也在近日爆出了自己所知道的一些与 UFO 灵魂和深层政府有关的猛料，这到底是怎么回事呢？ Here Limbo, Here Evil, Here Trouble， 感谢您订阅邪恶力量。今天我们来聊完美星座计划。Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Exposing the Truth 是本次听证会的名称，意为不明空中异常现象揭露真相。其中 Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena 为 UAP 的全称，是自2023年7月的 UFO 听证会后，美国政府对 UFO 现象的统一称呼。据国会山报报道，本次听证会由众议院的国会监督与问责委员会举行，而出席此次听证会的几名证人分别为前美国海军少将蒂莫西·加劳德特、前美国国防部官员路易斯·艾利桑多、前美国国家航空航天局及 NASA 的空间政策与伙伴关系副局长迈克尔·格尔德和美国知名媒体人迈克尔·谢伦伯格。在听证会上，4名证人用自己的亲身经历告诉委员会称 UAP 是真实存在的，且美国国防部的五角大楼还在未经国会授权的情况下秘密开展了对 UAP 调查计划，并大量收集了相关信息。接下来我们就来听听这4位证人的说辞和现场影像。第一位证人加劳德特，他不仅是前美国海军少将，也是前美国海军气象学和海洋学司令部司令。他宣称2015年他在美国东海岸参加海军演习时遭遇过 UAP。 他回忆说，当时一架美国海军 FA-18 战斗机发现了一个不明物体。作为参加演习的指挥官之一，他在海军安全网络上收到了作战军官的电子邮件，询问是否有人可以识别这一物体，并警告说该不明物体的干扰可能导致演习终止。杰劳德特暗示美国政府隐瞒了这起事件。他声称事发后第2天，这封电子邮件就从他和其他人的收件箱中消失了。美国海军高级官员也不愿再讨论此事，且在过去的10几年间，他也有见过 USO 及水下不明潜行物体，而对方的速度也比美国海军的潜艇还要快几个数量级。这是他在听证会上被问讯时的影片。
Confirmation that UAPs are real came to me in January of 2015 when I was serving as the commander of the Navy Meteorology and Oceanography Command. At the time, my personnel were participating in a pre-deployment naval exercise off the U.S. East Coast. It included the USS Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group, and this exercise was overseen by the United States Fleet Forces Command, led by a 4-star admiral who at the time was also my superior officer. During this exercise, I received an email on the Navy's secure network from the operations officer of U.S. Fleet Forces Command. The email was addressed to all the subordinate commanders, and the subject line read in all capital letters, "Urgent Safety of Flight Issue." The text of the email was brief but alarming, with words to the effect, "If any of you know what these are, tell me ASAP. We are having multiple near mid-air collisions, and if we do not resolve this soon, we are going to have to shut down the exercise." Attached to the email is what is now known as the Go Fast video, captured on the forward-looking infrared sensor of one of the Navy F-A-18 aircraft participating in the exercise. The now declassified video showed an unidentified object exhibiting flight and structural characteristics unlike anything in our arsenal. The implication of the email was clear. The author was asking whether any of the recipients were aware of classified technology demonstrations that could explain these objects. Because the DoD policy is to rigorously deconflict such demonstrations with live exercises, I was confident this was not the case. The very next day, that email disappeared from my account and those of the other recipients without explanation. Moreover, the commander of Fleet Forces Command and the operations officer never discussed the subject. Even during weekly meetings specifically designed to address issues affecting exercises like the one in which the Theodore Roosevelt Strike Group was participating.
第2位证人是艾利桑多，前美国国防部军事情报官员，也曾担任过五角大楼的先进航空威胁识别计划的负责人。 该计划也是著名的 AARO， 即美国五角大楼的全域异常解决办公室的前身。埃利桑多也称，自己正是因为受不了五角大楼一直对民众进行隐瞒，才离开了那里，间接促使了 AARO 的诞生。而在2023年的首次 UFO 听证会上， AARO 不断否认证人的说辞，也侧面印证了埃利桑多的观点。而在2024年此次的听证会上，埃利桑多强烈指责美国政府向民众隐瞒了众多信息，并秘密开展了长达10年以上的 UAP 坠毁物回收计划，且试图识别外星飞船并进行逆向工程。他甚至宣称，他看到过说明 UFO 在空中的瞬间加速度能够达到1000克，即1000个重力加速度的文件，实在是令人不可思议，瞠目结舌。更重要的是，还有文件称这些个不明飞行物正在不断试图侵入敏感的美国军事空域，以及干扰美国的核资产。而在2024年8月，他也出版了自己的回忆录，迫在眉睫五角大楼搜寻不明飞行物内幕，并在《纽约时报》畅销书排行榜上名列第一。今后我们有机会讲讲这本书。接下来是他在听证会上被问询时的影片。
Greetings, Chairwoman Mace, Chairman Grothman, Ranking Members Connolly and Garcia, and members of the committee. It is my honor and privilege to testify before you on the issue of unidentified anomalous phenomenon, formerly known as UFOs. On behalf of our brave men and women in uniform and across the intelligence community, as well as my fellow Americans who have awaited this day, thank you for your leadership on this important matter. Let me be clear. UAP are real. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. Furthermore, the U.S. is in possession of UAP technologies, as are some of our adversaries. I believe we are in the midst of a multi-decade secretive arms race, one funded by misallocated taxpayer dollars and hidden from our elected representatives and oversight bodies. For many years, I was entrusted with protecting some of our nation's most sensitive programs. In my last position, I managed a special access program on behalf of the White House and the National Security Council. As such, I appreciate the need to protect certain sensitive intelligence and military information. I consider my oath to protect secrets as sacred, and I will always put the safety of the American people first. With that said, I also understand the consequences of excessive secrecy and stovepiping. Nowhere was this more apparent than in the aftermath of 9/11, which many of us remember all too well. I believe that America's greatness depends on 3 elements. A watchful Congress, B, a responsive executive branch, and C, an informed public. Over the last decade and a half, I learned that certain UAP programs were and are operating without any of these elements. Although much of my government work on the UAP subject still remains classified, excessive secrecy has led to grave misdeeds against loyal civil servants, military personnel, and the public, all to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos. A small cadre within our own government involved in the UAP topic has created a culture of suppression and intimidation that I've personally been victim to, along with many of my former colleagues. This includes unwarranted criminal investigations, harassment, and efforts to destroy one's credibility. Most Americans would be shocked to learn that the Pentagon's very own Public Affairs Office openly employs a professional psychological operations officer as the singular point of contact for any UAP-related inquiries from citizens and the media. This is unacceptable. Many of my former colleagues and I have provided classified testimony to both the Department of Defense and the Intelligence Community Inspector General, and many of us have subsequently been targeted by this cabal with threats to our careers, our security clearances, and even our lives. This is not hyperbole, but a genuine fact, and this is wrong.
第3位证人，作为 NASA 的前任空间政策与伙伴关系副局长的戈尔德表示，绝大部分 UAP 都有合理的解释，可能是无人机、气象气球、实验性飞行器、大气活动和鸟类，但也有一部分还无法得到解释。他呼吁政府应向 NASA 等机构提供更多的资金，开发用于研究 UAP 的设备，以便该组织能够成功执行阿尔特弥斯计划及其他所有的重要的科学和探索活动，并且他也希望众人能够消除对 UAP 的偏见和误解，敦促 NASA 与民间不明飞行物研究者进行合作，以便展开更多的科学研究。这里要说一下，阿尔特弥斯计划是美国政府资助的一个载人航天项目，是川普在2017年批准实行的计划，其目标是在2024年前将宇航员平安送往月球并返回，并建立常态化驻留机制。 为未来的火星载人登陆任务铺就道路。就目前来看，此计划可能已经延期，而这位副机长也是4人当中唯一一位来议员面前拉资金，并没有什么爆料的人。他的现场影片我就不向各位展示了。最后也是最关键的一位证人是知名媒体人谢伦伯格，同时也是一名作家、大学教授和环保主义者。在听证会上，他爆出一则猛料，声称美国国防部已经神秘地展开了一项名为“完美星座”的 UAP 研究计划。该计划旨在专门收集 UAP 的高质量图片、影片和第一手观察记录以及传感器数据。据称，完美星座计划始于2017年，它收录了从1991年至2022年的大量目击者证词，其中包括飞行的金属球、水母形状的飞机，以及据称改变了目击者时间感知的不明飞行物，都是超过1000张的高分辨率图片和影片。在谢伦伯格的报告里，甚至还提到了该计划包含了红外卫星捕捉到的一个巨大的400英尺宽的碟状不明飞行物从浓密云层中飞出的画面，并进行了标注，写道：这种行为本质上是一种规避行为，意味着碟状的 UAP 已经意识到自己正受到观察和监视。400英尺是什么概念？就是相当于121米宽，几乎是我们乘坐的普通客机2倍的翼展宽度了，实在是太令人震惊了。
But before we get to the witnesses, we're going to have a few more opening statements from our colleagues. And one thing I wanted to add at the end of my closing statement is there is a document that will be entered into the congressional record today. Mr. Tim Burchett from Tennessee has this document, and we just distributed it to every member up here on the dais of this document. But this is going to be the original document from the Pentagon about Immaculate Constellation that Michael Schellenberger delivered to Congress today. So thank you, Mr. Schellenberger, for this information. We are all reading it in real time now, and Mr. Burchett will enter it into the record. But 12 pages about this unacknowledged special access program that your government says does not exist.
完美星座计划在听证会上进行了十分持久的讨论，并在会议结束之后，一名议员将谢伦伯格提供的这份11页充斥着密密麻麻文字的机密文件向公众公布。接下来是现场影片以及我个人对机密文件的内容总结。
One of Congress's most important responsibilities is oversight of the executive branch in general and the military and intelligence community in particular. Unfortunately, there is a growing body of evidence that the U.S. government is not being transparent about what it knows about unidentified anomalous phenomena, and that elements within the military and the IC are in violation of their constitutional duty to notify Congress of their operations. President-elect Donald Trump and former President Barack Obama have both said that the government has information about UAPs that it has not released. There are other explanations for UAPs than that they represent a new form of life or non-human life. Current dominant alternative theories, including those put forward by AARO, are that UAPs are some kind of natural phenomena we don't yet understand, like ball lightning or plasma. They could also be part of some new U.S. or foreign government weapons programs, such as drones, aircraft, balloons, CGI, hoaxes, or birds. Whatever UAPs are, Congress must be informed, as must the people of the United States. We have a right to know what UAPs are, no matter what they are. However, we now have existing and former U.S. government officials who have told Congress that AARO and the Pentagon have broken the law by not revealing a significant body of information about UAPs, including military intelligence databases that have evidence of their existence as physical craft. One of those individuals is a current or former U.S. government official acting as a UAP whistleblower. This person has written a report. This is the report that says the executive branch has been managing UAP, NHI issues without congressional knowledge, oversight, or authorization for some time, quite possibly decades. Furthermore, these individuals have revealed the name of an active and highly secretive DoD unacknowledged special access program, or USAP. The source of that document told me, that the USAP is a strategic intelligence program that is part of the U.S. military family of long-standing, highly sensitive programs dealing with various aspects of the UAP problem. The new UAP whistleblower claims that the U.S. military and IC database includes videos and images taken using infrared, forward-looking infrared, full-motion video, and still photography. The report that was just shared with Congress says Immaculate Constellation serves as a central or parent USAP that consolidates observations of UAPs by both tasked and untasked collection platforms. Immaculate Constellation includes high-quality imagery intelligence and measurement and signature intelligence of UAPs, the whistleblowers report adds. The sources of this intelligence are a blend of directed and incidental collection capabilities, positioned in low Earth orbit, the upper atmosphere, as well as military and civilian aviation altitudes and maritime environments. The report to Congress details in detail various UAPs, including spheres, orbs, disks, saucers, ovals, triangles, boomerang, arrowhead, and irregular organic. The report describes various incidents found in the human intelligence databases. One involved orbs surrounding and enforcing an F-22 out of its patrol area. In another incident, the crew of a Navy aircraft carrier watched a small orange-red sphere rapidly descend from a high altitude of 100 to 200 yards directly above the flight deck of the CVN, or aircraft carrier. And since my reporting on this Immaculate Constellation last month, another source came forward who told me that they saw a roughly 13-minute-long, high-definition, full-color video of a white orb UAP coming out of the ocean approximately 20 miles off the coast of Kuwait. It was filmed from a helicopter. Then halfway through the video, the person said the orb is joined by another orb that briefly comes into the frame from the left before rapidly moving again out of the frame. The person discovered the video on SIPR, the Secure Internet Protocol Router Network, which the DoD uses to transmit classified information. A leading UAP researcher who utilizes the Freedom of Information Act to find out what the government knows, John Greenwald, told me last year that the U.S. government had been increasingly denying his request for UAP information. He has been doing FOIA requests for 27 years and has an archive of 3 million pages. The government has for decades denied any interest in UFOs, he told me, but the documents that he has assembled show that behind the scenes it was a completely different story. Contrary to the hopes of many advocates of transparency, the government has been restricting more information since the leak of 3 UAP videos in 2017. The DoD organization AARO has been labeling many documents with a B7 exemption, which Greenwald says does not make any sense. They're stating that anything AARO does is involved in law enforcement investigation, which allows AARO to not release it. Greenwald says that the DoD has denied the existence of a UAP and ATIP-related records on multiple occasions, only to acknowledge them after an appeal was filed. He added that the Naval Air Systems Command in March 2022 stated they found no additional UAP videos. It seems strange that they had 3 and only those 3, but other requests had been filed by the Black Vault, that's John Greenwald's group, to seek out more places UAPs might be hiding. Then in September 2022, the Navy admitted that the UAP-related videos and photographs existed, but denied the request in full for their release, saying that the requested videos contain sensitive information that are classified and exempt from disclosure. The DoD will deny things on a Monday and then admit to it on a Friday, said Greenwald. He said the government can and does release videos that protect secret methods of capturing it. They fall back on the sensitive platform excuse a lot, he said. However, the on-screen information can be blurred and scrubbed. The metadata can be removed. I'll show you this example here. This is a presentation from the UATP task force. This is completely absurd. It's nuts, this level of censorship, of redaction on a document. It shows the redaction of how many reports they've collected, for how many years. 2 of the 3 potential explanations are blacked out. The Pentagon, the intelligence community is treating us like children. It's time for us to know the truth about this. I think that we can handle it. Thank you very much.
在该报告中可以看到以下几个举例，均是 AARO 无法解释与说明的案例。1. 海洋上空出现金属球体。在某次观测中能够看到包括约12个金属球体高速掠过海洋表面的日间视频和前视红外镜头。这些球体显示出与当前航空航天器不兼容的机动性。报告称，当这些球体开始以立方体形状的形式移动时，在红外镜头上显示出白热化，每个球体周围都有轻微的大气扭曲。这些球体以编队形式进行了一段时间后，成队打破编队，向多个方向分散。2. 不明飞行物出现在敏感设施上空。有一个不明飞行物出现在美国中央司令部地区的前视红外图像中。在镜头中可以看到一个小椭圆形的不明飞行物高速飞过一个敏感的沿海设施，然后不明飞行物高速转向海洋，紧接着消失不见。3. 在印度太平洋地区发现复制品飞行器。另一个条目包括红外图像和其他图像，其中可以看到一个三角形的不明飞行物， 每个点都有明亮的灯光，还有一条水平的扫光条，被描述为复制品飞行器。不明飞行物在海面上盘旋和旋转，然后突然消失。4. 三角形不明飞行物尾随船只。来自印度太平洋地区的另一个条目显示了一个等边三角形不明飞行物的红外镜头，其大小与战斗机相当，悬停在太平洋的一艘船只上空。不明飞行物也被归类为复制品飞行器，它保持高度并直接位于不知情的船只上方。5. 大型圆盘利用云层隐藏位置。数据库中的镜头显示，一个碟形 UAP 从云层中飞出。UAP 因大气扰动而变热，从云层中出现并向上移动后 ，UAP 改变方向并下降回云层，这可能表示它意识到自己在被观察。6. 飞行员和传感器看到回旋镖 UAP。印度太平洋地区的前视红外显示，一个回旋镖 UAP 出现在一个未居民国家的东海岸附近。飞机上的传感器跟踪它的云层中的位置，飞行员看到它迅速减速至悬停，然后似乎从两个机翼之间的点发出一个光球，光球扩大到包括飞行器在内。7. 美墨边境发现水母型 UAP。前视红外图像显示，该 UAP 形状类似水母，悬垂的腹肢似乎有不规则的冷点和热点，且尽管没有任何推进装置， UAP 仍逆风移动，并侵犯了南部边境的领空。在听证会结束后，一些媒体认为这4位证人的说法和去年的听证会上的几位退伍军人的说法一样，都缺乏直接性的证据。但从2023年7月的首次 UFO 听证会后的1年的时间内，美国五角大楼的全域异常解决办公室 AARO 又累计收到一共757份目击报告，都在日本的长崎和广岛、亚洲中东地区和美国的西海岸地区。不出意外，都是与核武器、战争和地震相关的区域。且在这次的听证会上所呈现的具有代表性的 UAP 现象报告中，平日里一直唱反调的 AARO 也宣布这里面有多达21例他们无法做出任何解释。现在我们看到 AARO 的官网里有写道，他们既不完全肯定 UFO 等事物和事件的真实性，也不完全否定，只说一直在调查当中，真是十分的圆滑。而许多人也都对以五角大楼为首的美国国防部的这一态度嗤之以鼻，因此相当多数量的国会议员都要求美国政府提高透明度。主持本次听证会的南卡罗来纳州的共和党议员南希梅斯在听证会上说，如果这些办公室不存在，那我们为什么要花钱呢？花了多少钱？如果真的没什么大不了的，那里没有任何东西，为什么要隐瞒呢？其他的众议员也都纷纷呼吁，马上要开启第2任期的美国总统 Trump 能够尽快公布政府所一直隐瞒的真相，兑现他的第1任期和选举时向大众许下的承诺。
There are 2 questions I have to ask you. The first one's kind of fun. Aliens. I want to talk to you about aliens.
Yeah.
UFOs, UAPs.
I know.
The disclosure we've seen in Congress recently. It's confusing and upsetting a lot of Americans because there's something happening. There are unidentified aerial phenomena in the sky. We don't know what they are. Do you?
So it's such a question I do get a lot, and it's such an interesting question. I've met with pilots that look just like you, actually. Okay, they have more of a crew cut. Okay, they look like him, and they look like you. Some of them look like you,
A little fatter.
but these are perfect people.
Okay.
And they're not
crazy.
Conspiratorial. They're not crazy.
Yeah.
And they tell me stories that they've seen things that you wouldn't believe. These are not people that you would say, gee,
No way.
oh, that's
No
okay.
way. President of the United States.
But
I said,
who is it? That's Joe Biden wanting to do an interview. So I've met with pilots like beautiful Tom Cruise, but taller.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Handsome, perfect people. Sir, there was something there that was round in form and going like 4 times faster than my super jet fighter plane. And I look at these guys and they really mean it.
Yeah.
And am I a believer? No, I can't say I am. But I have met with people that are serious people that say there's some really strange things that they see flying around out there. And, if you go to Nevada and you look at that little section of where they go to look at the aliens, where they think all the aliens are landing, that, it's I think it's maybe the #1 tourist attraction in the United States.
Roswell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roswell. I think it's the #1. It's the lines of people waiting. You have no idea how many times I'm asked that question.
But don't you have access to that information?
I have access, and I speak to people about it. I've had actually meetings on it. and they will tell you there's something going on. When they say things are going 4 times faster than my beautiful top-of-the-line airplane that goes, real fast.
With no identifiable propulsion
Mach
system.
2, right?
These things are creating their own gravity fields, allegedly.
Well, they have people that are very smart and very solid have said they believe there is something out there. And, it makes sense that there could be. I've never been convinced, even despite that. I just, for some reason, it's not my thing. But a lot of people believe that it's true. A lot of very good, solid people believe it's true.
What? And
I know there are illegal aliens out there, but those are the ones that come through the border. We have plenty of them. Those are the ones I know. When you say aliens, I say, are they illegal aliens? These might be illegal, but we don't want to test them.
Yeah.
Because if they can go 4 times faster, we're not going to test them. So it's an interesting question.
除此之外，还有一人我们不得不提到，那就是和川普以及 Elon Musk 关系都不错的同为共和党人的 Tucker Carlson。他被称为川普最忠实的拥护者，也是一名极右翼者。我以前在大学念书时，也经常看他主持的 Fox News， 其系列言语也让我十分喜欢。他最为出名的一幕，就是在俄乌开战后，作为首位采访普丁总统的西方记者踏入克里姆林宫，其勇敢的精神和探究真相的态度，令人不得不佩服。而 Tucker 在最近的一次采访中透露自己曾被魔鬼伤害过，这又是怎么一回事呢？在2024年初，塔克尔在一次电视节目里提到，美国政府已经与被认为外星人的实体达成了某种协议，但这些实体不是外星人，而是一直存在于地球上的，本质上可能是有灵性的东西。甚至他还在某档节目里爆料称，2023年时他还曾被恶魔殴打过。
Do you think the presence of evil is kickstarting people to wonder about the good?
That's what happened to me.
That's what happened to you?
Oh yeah, I had a direct experience with it.
In the milieu of journalism or just...
Nope, in my bed at night, and I got attacked while I was asleep with my wife and 4 dogs in the bed and mauled. Physically mauled.
In a spiritual attack by a demon?
Yeah, by a demon. Or by something unseen that left...
Is that right?
Claw marks on my sides, on my...
So it left physical marks?
Oh, they're still there. Yeah. A year and a half ago.
Was your wife terrified? I know you were.
I wasn't. I was totally confused. I woke up and I couldn't breathe and I thought I was going to suffocate, and I walked around outside, and then I walked in and my wife and dogs had not woken up, and they're very light sleepers. And then I had these terrible pains on my rib cage and on my shoulder, and they're bleeding.
塔克尔坦白讲，那次袭击让他流了很多血，并留下了爪子的疤痕。但袭击他的东西，他却怎么也找不到，根本就没有形体。他讲，于是他不得不把这一东西跟他所了解到的政府所隐瞒的事物相结合，认为那是对他过于直率的行事风格的报复。他之后还称自己了解了一些关于美国深层政府的内幕，这个因为和本期的主题无关，我就放到之后的节目里讲。
People, I would say, whether they're right or wrong, I can't say conclusively. But if that is true, I mean, it's a very, very, very heavy thing.
Yeah, a lot of people say interdimensional beings.
Right, I want to ask, are angels and demons, or how would you describe these beings?
You know, these are, again, I'm getting into the realm of conjecture, so I just want to say that flat out.
Entity?
But one thing I know for a dead certain fact, having seen it, is that there is good and evil, that we are being acted upon at all times. And I think every person can feel that in himself. I mean, there are moments when you are moved to do things that are much better than you actually are, and that are also more evil and destructive than you actually are. You are subject to forces from outside yourself. That is absolutely true. Now, we can argue about what they are, but every person in the room, if he's reflective, will tell you, yes, I know what you're talking about. And so there are forces that are not human, that do exist in a spiritual realm of some kind, that we cannot see, and that when you think about it, sort of make you think we live in an ant farm.
Yeah.
Being right? And that's that is real.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's many artists also talking about how essentially what they do in their greatest works of art is usually done through channeling.
Of course.
So, and there is an aspect
not
of this
freedom chins, by the way.
Yeah, but definitely not that much more.
We haven't made anything good.
By the way, every artist will tell you that.
Exactly.
Every artist.
That something happened, that they're not themselves, that they just were doing their art, and then something just went.
No, and it's not just visual arts. It's every creative act brings you closer to something outside the human realm, and you can feel it, whether it's woodworking or writing or painting a painting or writing an opera or writing a rap song or whatever, anything that is true and beautiful or anything that is dark and destructive is almost certainly a product of forces acting upon you, and you can feel it.
这3个人还真是在外星人等未知领域上达成了统一战线，都认为未知的生命体和神秘的相关领域都是存在的，并且他们也多次探讨过。最后，我们只能寄希望于 President Trump 和他身边的人身上，希望他们不仅仅能够公布美国政府所隐瞒的 UFO 事件，也能让更多民众知晓自己并不是宇宙中孤独的存在。你现在所经历的苦难生活，在伟大的视角来看，根本不值一提。专注于当下，你会活得更加幸福。以上，欢迎订阅邪恶力量，我是 Limboo， 我们下期再见。
One of the things that I want to talk to you about is the JFK files. And one of the things that you said was that if they showed you what they showed me, this was your quote, you wouldn't want people to know it either.
So I opened them up partially. I was met with, from good people. I mean, look, good people. People that were well-meaning. Mike Pompeo was one of them. He's a good person. They called me. They said, "Sir, would rather have you not." And I did open them, but I was asked by some people not to open them. There's a Martin Luther King file too, by the way, that they'd like to see. I don't know if you know, but there is that. But JFK in particular. So they called me. A lot of good people called me. People that that you would find reasonable people. And they asked me not to do it. So I said, well, we'll close it for another time. But if I win, I'm going to open them up. I'm just going to open enough time.
Why didn't you open it up the first time?
Because
a
lot of times,
what was the hesitation, though?
Addresses, people that are still living. There are people that are affected. And there could be some national security reason that that I don't have to necessarily know about. But some very good, talented people asked me not to do it. I opened it up, and then they said, would it be possible for us to do that a different day?
How much of it did you read into?
I think it's going to be just fine to open it. Let me put it that way. I think it's fine. It's going to be time. It's a cleansing. It's really a cleansing. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it immediately, almost immediately upon entering office.
Well, the thing, when people look at it from the outside and you sort of imagine what could be a reason why they would not release those files, it would be there's people that were implicated in the assassination.
Yeah. Well, when there are living people, you generally tend not to want to do it. When people are still living.
Living people that formerly work for the government.
For the government, and living people that were somehow involved in it, and you tend not to do that. But it's time to open them. I can't tell you whether or not they're going to find anything of interest. And I did partially open. I think I've opened 50%, but I was asked not to do it, and I thought that was a reasonable ask. But now I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it very soon. There's a lot of interest in it.
One of the things that
there's a lot of interest in the people coming from space,
Yes.
And I know you're interested in that.
Oh, I'm very interested in that. How much did they tell you about that?
A lot.
Really?
Yeah.
What did they tell you? How much can you tell?
So
how's that work? Is it like super top secret?
I can tell,
Tell me.
Well, based on Hunter Biden, I can say whatever the hell I want, right? But I interviewed a few people. It's never been my thing, I have to be honest. I have never been a believer. I have people that Area 51 or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. I think it's the #1 tourist attraction in the whole country or something. Area 51 in Las Vegas. Do you know that, right?
Sure. I know what it is.
So anyway, but it's a big tourist thing. So I interviewed jet pilots that say they saw something. If you saw them, you'd love to have them as
I've had a couple in here. Commander David Fravor.
Yeah.
I had him in, who had that sighting in 2004. Very compelling with video evidence, radar evidence. Ryan Graves.
I don't believe his name, but I interviewed jet pilots that were solid people. Perfect. I mean, great pilots, great everything. And they said, we saw things, sir, that were very strange. Like a round ball, but it wasn't a comet or a meteor. It was something. And it was going 4 times faster than an F-22, which is a very fast plane, And it was round, which is in theory a great shape.
So when you were talking to these people, was this something that you were compelled to have conversations about? Was this your personal interest?
No, a little bit. It's not a great interest for me, but it's a little interest. I get that question as much as almost any question. Do you think that we have aliens coming, flying around or whatever?
What do you think?
There's no reason not to. I mean, there's no reason not to think that Mars and all these planets don't have life, because
Mars, we've had probes there and rovers, and I don't think there's any life there.
Well, maybe it's life that we don't know, but maybe
there was life there at one point in time. This is the speculation about Mars, that Mars had an atmosphere at one point in time, a long time ago, that could support life. It also had large bodies of water, but we've had no evidence of even bacterial life that exists on Mars. But the universe is pretty vast.
It's not been a big thing for me. I mean, when I looked at what China did to this, they would have never done it with me, where they put the balloon up, and a lot of people thought for a little while that was one of these things. So,
well, that's a lot of the speculation too, that some of these drones that hover over battleships, that these are Chinese drones, and that they're not UFOs.
They could be also.
There's some super sophisticated.
But I did interview, let's say 3 or 4 guys and without tremendous interest, if you had them. As I said, you'd love to have them as your children. Solid, beautiful people. They said, "Sir, there's something there."
There's something there.
Said it, yeah.
Yeah, I've talked to quite a few of them.
They're not conspiracy guys.
Well, I mean, just the Commander David Fravor thing in 2004 off the coast of San Diego, they clocked that thing going from 50,000 feet above sea level to 50 in a second.
Yeah.
They don't know what it is.
That's tough to beat.
Yeah, they saw something in the water. It was hovering over that something that was making a disturbance in the water. They got video evidence of this thing. 2 different fighter jets with pilots in them saw it. There's, visual evidence, photographic evidence, video evidence, radar evidence. Whatever the hell it is, it moves in a way that would turn a human being into jello if they're inside of it. The G-force, no one would survive.
Oh,
so what is that? And it doesn't have a heat signature. They don't know what their propulsion system was. But
when you fly in some of these jets, these pilots have to be in great shape.
Oh, yeah. I flew with the Blue Angels once.
Yeah.
I got to fly. I guess it's an FA-18.
And those are older machines.
And they're crazy.
When you fly in some of these things,
oh my God,
amazing. Yeah, but
I can imagine.
You got to be special.